Executive in Residence at the Management and International Business Department of Loyola University, Maryland. And it's my pleasure to have this conversation with Matt Bielecki of M&T Bank. We have recorded this series of interviews with board members and other prominent individuals in the community for the benefit of our students so that they can get a sense for career directions, career advice, what life is like in today's business world. So with no further ado, Matt, thank you for making the time to speak with us today. I know that our students are going to get a lot out of this, and I'm actually very much looking forward to hearing some of the things you're going to say myself. Could you start off by introducing yourself and where you work and what your current role is, please?
Yeah, thanks, Dave. And I appreciate you setting this up. I know we spoke before. I was helped out along the way when I was in school by some mentors, by some folks who guided me along and gave me some advice along the way. So always willing to do that and to help out students with career perspective and career advice. So appreciate you setting this up. So I work for M&T Bank. I am the retail regional manager for downtown Baltimore. So I oversee 13 of our retail branches in Baltimore City. So I've been with the bank for about 11 years now, and M&T Bank is the only, I guess I would say, professional work environment that I've had. I had some internships, but once I got out of undergraduate, I started with M&T Bank in their management development program in the retail branch network, and have stayed in the retail branch network, and have moved from branch manager up into a regional manager now, where I've been in this role for about 5 years.
Wonderful. That's great. Well, it sounds like you've got a wealth of experiences that you could share with our students. One of the things that is, I'll say, unique to students in our department, right, management and international business majors, is there doesn't always seem to be this linear career path, right? I mean, if you're an accounting major, you're going to be a CPA and then do auditing, or if you're a marketing major, you're going to do market research and analysis. But when you're a management or IB major, sometimes it's a little more varied. And we try to, give our students this to be okay, right? That they're going to manage. But I think it's sometimes better if they can hear it from you. So tell us a little bit about how your career developed and how you got to where you are today, please.
Yeah, I can totally relate to that, and that feeling of, hey, I'm not quite sure of how I'm going to take what I'm learning here in school and apply it to the real world. I was actually a political science major an undergrad. So, I think that's even a little more ambiguous of what you're going to do with that. And I didn't really know what I was going to do with it when I was going through school. My perspective at the time was, I'm going to do my best. I'm going to do my best at what I'm taking, do the best in the class that I'm taking, really engage in the classes, learn as much as I can, and I'll figure out along the way. And that's what I tried to do. And I really didn't figure it out. But as I mentioned before, I stayed in touch with some people who I got connected with when I first looked at the school I went to, and that was University of Rochester. So I stayed in touch with them, and I had conversations with them, and they helped guide me on kind of where my career path actually is now. So I didn't know what I was going to do. I got connected with a guy who worked at M&T Bank. He shared a little bit about M&T, and I was like, hey, that sounds like something that could fit into kind of what I am about. So the organization seemed to align with the values that I had. It was a management program. I had been in some leadership roles in school, so I said, okay, like I have some leadership experience. It's a management program. I really don't know much about banking. I have very little knowledge of banking, but I trusted this guy who said, hey, like you don't have to know the technical skills of banking. You have to be willing to learn, you have to be willing to work hard, and you have to be willing to to care for people, customers, teammates. So I was like, hey, I can do those things. That aligns with what I'm about. So I took the chance to start with M&T, and to be candid, I didn't think I would have a career in banking. It was a job that I thought fit well initially, and I would be there for a couple of years as I kind of figured out what I wanted to do with my life. And, as I engaged in the work, and as I really focused in on doing the job and learning the job, and getting feedback from my managers, I've had great managers over the years who've really helped me develop and have given me feedback to grow in my career. So I invested the time and the energy, and as a result of that, I really liked what I was doing, and I continued to progress in my career. But I totally understand the fact that, hey, when you're in school, you're not quite sure where you're going to go. My mindset, and I think what has helped me, is okay, pick something and pour yourself into that thing. Put energy into it, work at it, be very receptive to feedback, to learn, and you'll be okay. What I found, at least in my experience, and I'm sorry to kind of go off on a tangent here, is where I've seen some folks struggle is where they get into a role and they feel like they've maybe it doesn't align with what they're looking for, or they look for other things and they get distracted and they don't perform in their role, and then they maybe end up going to another job, or they're not performing their role, so like things just don't work out as well for them at the organization. And that distraction, or that mindset of I'm always looking for something else, I think gets in the way a lot of times for people. So I've just tried to stay focused and apply myself in what I'm doing.
Matt, there's a number of things in there that I think we could talk about. Certainly, I would hope our students pick up on. One of them is the value of contacts and mentors, right? This idea of a network, kind of help you find something that you weren't necessarily looking for, right? And so that's critical that our students think about that. The second thing is that a lot of the jobs that you'll go into don't necessarily require you to go in highly skilled for that job, but many organizations are going to train you on what they want to do. I mean, they may have unique way, even if you've been a finance major, they may have unique ways of doing valuations that you have to learn. So that's there. And I think the other one, which is really where you ended it, and I think it's really critical, is the idea of pouring yourself into what you're doing, right? Don't go there thinking it's a waste stop. Go there and thinking it's an opportunity to learn as much as you can and do as much as you can, because it's those experiences that I think are really valuable.
Yeah.
You've clearly built your career on that. How did it evolve once you were in the bank? You kind of moved from your initial role in the management training department and then ultimately to a branch. What does that look like? If a student were going to say, well, what does a career progression look like? How would you recount that, Matt?
Yeah, so I think and I can speak from my experience from when I started with the bank. I had the perspective again of going in and learning as much as I can and applying that to what I was doing. So I am someone who I I looked for others for guidance, because I understood in that time I didn't know banking very well, but there were some other people around me who did. So I learned from them, and I was very, very willing to say, hey, I don't know. And can you help me? And can you give me advice? So I took that and I applied it. And I through that, I was able to have some success over time. And I am someone who I think now still, and even more so, I think then, was very, very performance driven. I've always, I feel like I have a strong work ethic. I think that's something that's just innate about me. So, I was willing to apply what I was learning. And I think over time, and as I moved into management, like higher level management roles, I've got some good feedback from people to say, hey, Matt, like you were really good as an individual producer. You're good as a manager, but you may have some blind spots when it comes to empathy and leading people. Not everyone's going to be the same way that you are when it comes to driving results. And you have to pause and take time to connect with people and understand where they're coming from and really what they're about, and build better personal connections. So, that was a career, like a learning through my career path that I didn't have. Like I step back and reflect on it now, and that was a huge thing in my development. When I was sitting in my seat fresh out of college, I did not have that perspective. It was okay, I got to work hard, I got to perform, I got to move up in my career. But as I moved up, I realized, okay, let's pause, let's do some reflection. And I'm really thankful that I had some good mentors that gave me some feedback to help me become more aware of my performance and how I impacted people.
Well, I think it's one of those infinitely perfectible skills, right?
Yeah.
We never can get really perfect at it. I know you're extremely busy and you've carved out some time to talk to us. So not to make this any longer, what other kinds of advice would you give our students? You've really talked a lot about, thinking about your career and pouring yourself into it, the importance of mentors. What other things might you want to leave with them so that they could maybe get their mind around what it's going to be like, trying to get into the workforce?
Yeah, I, c- I can say, and you, like, I guess to phrase it simply, you really don't know what you don't know. So seeking advice from other people and seeking guidance and like trusting in people, which I know can be hard sometimes, but just finding mentors that can provide you advice and guidance on, on your career path, because I know I didn't have it figured out at that same time, and I look back and I think about the value of the information and knowledge that people gave to me as I was trying to figure things out. You think you know, but you don't really know. Like, you don't know because you don't have that perspective. And I know it's hard to grasp because you can't see down the road. But even 11 years in the working, I can see, looking back, the value of some of the feedback that people have given me at the time. And I may not have appreciated it, I may not have agreed with it, but I can see how it has helped me with my career. So that openness to seek advice, to seek guidance from others, and being willing to listen and open-minded to kind of make some adjustments from that. So that's something that I know has helped me in my career. So that would be the thing that I would leave them with.
And just to sort of build off that, in this COVID world that we're in, where you don't necessarily bump into people, a networking event is not a lot of people in a room passing business cards back and forth. Would your advice to students be that they need to be more proactive about this reaching out process and trying to seek out mentors and lead with questions rather than wait to be told? I'm not trying to prompt you for an answer,
Yeah,
but
no,
I'm thinking it's kind of critical they do that, right?
Yeah, I mean, I can say again, and this is from Matt Bielecki's mindset. We struggle finding really good talent. Like, when we're hiring people, it's tough to assess someone through an interview. And I think the best way to hire people is to get some experience with them, to learn, like, to understand them, to learn what they're about. So what I see, and I know this is what helped me, building those connections before you start looking for a job with people who may have a position at a company that can help you get in the door, reaching out to them and saying, hey, I just want to connect and learn more about what you do, share what I'm doing here at Loyola. I think building those connections and reaching out to people, and I know there's probably a whole resource of people that students can connect with through the Career Center. But I think making those connections and just setting time up and chatting about what you're working on, what they're working on, what their career is like, I think that is the best thing that can be done right now.
Wow. Well, let's end on that, because that is like golden advice for our students. Matt, I want to thank you so much for making the time to do this. I know you've got a busy schedule, and it wasn't made any easier by the pandemic. So I appreciate this, and I know our students will appreciate your advice and thoughts on kind of what they could be doing. So thank you very much for joining us today.
Yeah, you're welcome, Dave. Stay safe. Thanks.
Thank you.